Yeah, we are in the place to be.
Oh yes, good morning. We have made it to yet another Sunday. Sunday. It is I, your host, PoGokeRo, with yet another exciting, amazing episode of Redstone Lapis Lazuli. Hello, good morning. Yeah. Happy 2020. We're like hours into it. We're hours into 2020 and Donald Trump is getting us into a war. Man, I can't even. So here I am. I am standing at the Garden of the Gods, looking north or east into the Garden of the Gods. No, that's west. Looking west. West into the Garden of the Gods. And behind me is the Nether portal. The gold farm that I made. This is the Florence Larson Memorial Gold Farm. But I have upgraded it. Yes, this is upgraded. Okay, let me get out of here so I can show you just how this has been improved. You can see here, man, what's all this big structure here attached to the Nether portal? What is going on? What is happening? Let me show you. Alright, here. Slowly work my way down. Okay. So what we have here is the my old school Nether portal. I built this before the aquatic update. Like, the only way at that time to get a gold farm was to build a whole bunch of Nether portals and passively collect the pigmen that come out of it ever so slowly. And it was a slow process. It wasn't a very quick process. It took a long time for things to happen. And plus, man, this was horrible to build. It was awful to build this. To mine all that obsidian and then to build them without scaffolding back in the day before we had scaffolding. Oh man, it was awful. So there are like, what, 14? What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There must be like, I don't know, 30? Not quite. But there's a lot of Nether portals. So, but I only took the two smallest Nether portals on the end to make this change. And let me show you what's happened because I've done this change. So yeah, this is the Garden Gateway Station. Alright, looks normal. But over here, I have made changes. Yes. Observe. These are the passive pigmen that come in. Just you know, from those nether portals up there, doing nothing. These pigmen get spawned in, fall into the water, and then move into the chamber here. Alright, let me clear these guys out. This trident killer is a design by Navy Nexus, and this addition, this upgrade, is all because of Navy Nexus. So I should put a link to his video in the description, because yeah, this is a lot of it. This is his. So I added the item sorter to it, and I've upgraded the item sorter. But yeah, so essentially what happens is pigmen spawn from the nether portals and they come down here. Slowly. You see how slow it is? One came down, another one, another 3. But it takes a long time, right? It takes like 5 seconds, a few seconds in between. And if you look up here, you see there's only like one pigment coming down. It's a slow process. So here, let me flip this lever to on, and I will show you what has happened. So at this time now, well, you can see there's a whole bunch of more pigment coming down. And let me go back up there and show you what's happening, because you can't see from down here. All right. So what's happening? Let me turn this down. What's happening is this dispenser is turning on and off really quick to let the water in and out. When the water's out, the fire that's everywhere, it's all over this thing, relights the nether portal. But then the water comes on and breaks the nether portal almost immediately. But with Java, or with Bedrock Edition, when you break another, or you start another portal, it has a chance to spawn a pigment. So what's happening is the nether portal is being lit and then taken away and then relit really quickly in order to pump out the pigment. And you can see the pigment are just flying out now. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how fast they're coming out. Zombie pigmen. These guys are awful. I hate them. Oop. Let me back up here so you can see, get some perspective. Zoom out. So you can see the pigmen are just kind of flying out. And you go to this side, and you can see the portal is just being lit and relit. Top and bottom. That's the whole point. And that pumps out the pigment. You can see down there now, there's a crowd of pigmen. They're all moving to be processed. Like, that's an absurd number of pigmen from that, just from that gate. If you look on the other side, to the passive side, there's like one pigment coming down from this side. But from the turbo side, look at that, it's just backing up. There's so many that they're backing up. So what does this look like in the down here in the chamber? Down here in the chamber, it looks like this. A bunch of guys just hanging out. Let me turn on the sound. Audio. Oh, it's so loud. It's so loud. It's so loud. But look at these guys. They just falling in like crazy. Like double, triple the speed of before. And that's just from one gate. If I do another gate, this will be overloaded. I can't handle it. Like, as it is, if I try to use my sword, it's just too slow. It'll just take too long. And plus, who wants to sit here clicking over and over and over again? That's no fun. No one wants to do that. Oh yeah, this little space right here allows the XP to come out. So I can. That's why I'm level 72. I'm just testing. So yeah, there's just too many pigment. So what you can do is turn on the pigment blender, and it makes a nice pigment puree. It transforms these pigment into gold and rotten flesh. So that's what we're doing. We're transforming the pigment, transforming the evil into the good. That's the purpose of this farm. So yeah, they just keep coming, right? If you want to look at it, can you see? Can you see just the endless stream of pigment? They just don't stop coming. So yeah. And then in the meantime, I get gold ingots from smelting swords and whatnot. I get the gold nuggets, which go into my thing here. Ooh, I'm filled up. I need to clean this out. Don't back up, guy. Yeah, let me clean this out for a second, real quick. Oh no, I got too much stuff. Man. Too much stuff. Oh boy. Hold on, let me clean this out. Sorry for the delay here. What is that? Glass? I don't need glass. Stone, go back in there. Oh, nope, go in here for now. Okay, I need to clean this out before it overflows. That would be bad. But that's what I'm saying. This thing just pumps out the pigment, which in turn pump out the gold. I need a crafting table. I will use you. Okay, crafting table, go right here for now. So, gold bars for days is what I'm saying. I can't even clean it all out. Like, it's gonna take too long. But why? Why do I need all this gold? What's the point? Because this gold is transformed into golden carrots and powered rail. Powered rail is what allows me to move around the world. Without the power of powered rail, gold, to provide the locomotion, my range would be severely limited. I couldn't go anywhere and do any of this great stuff. It's all about the transportation. Yeah, see, it's backing up. Too much stuff. Oh, hey, look, I'm catching up. I mean, that's our world today. Like, everything is done somewhere else and then transported to where it needs to be. I guess that was the great innovation of oil. Oil allowed us to destroy space through time. With oil, with all the energy we get from oil, distance is nothing. Back in the day, when the United States didn't have telecommunications or the automobile or roads really to the west, everything had to come by horse or by wagon. You had to carry it. And so yeah, it took forever for anything to get by. Like, you need information that would take days, months. Did you need some special item from a factory? Months it would take, because like the speed at which information and goods traveled through space was really slow. Space was big before we had oil, and now we got oil, and oil makes it so space has shrunk. We have destroyed time. We have destroyed space through time. We make it so that we can cross vast distances in almost no time. So who cares if it's 50,000 miles away? If you can cross it in a blink of an eye, that distance, that space is almost meaningless at that point. I'm getting sick, so I gotta watch out. So this revolution in by destroying space through time is not without cost and consequence. I mean, as we're finding out, it's amazing to destroy space through time with oil. But that oil doesn't just go nowhere and that's the end. Like, the oil hangs around. It's in the form of CO2. Don't need that one. So, and that's the other problem. I've got all this rotten flesh. Like, yeah, I make a bunch of pigs. Oh man, I gotta turn this off. I got all these. I got all this rotten flesh, but the priest, he can't handle it. That's a lot of gold, dude. Nice. Look at that. That's gnarly. I mean, it's still coming. That's what's funny. Okay, so I have all this rotten flesh. And normally I'd be like, yo, priest guy, I have ridiculous amounts of rotten flesh. Why don't you hook a guy up? And so I'll trade him a little bit, but he runs out real fast. See, he's done. And he won't refresh his trade for a long time. So I'm like, well, dude, I'm gonna back up here. I've got too much rotten flesh. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I might just ditch the rotten flesh. Okay, with all this gold bars that I've transformed from ingots that I got from the pigment, I can then make gold squares. Where are my squares at? So from a full, there we go, from a full stack of chests, 4 chests, I got 3 stacks of gold blocks, 3.5 stacks of gold blocks. That's pretty good. I have enough gold now to make a pyramid, if I wanted to. Why is that in there? Okay. And while I was organizing my vast stores of gold, look at my pigment farm filled up again because I left it on. And who's got time to slay pigment individually one by one over and over and over again? Who's got time for that? That's why this handy dandy machine is great. The pigment blender. It's an evil processing machine. It turns the pigment, evil zombie pigment, into rotten flesh and gold ingots. Automatically. I barely have to be here. I mean, seriously, look at this. It's absurd. Like, I love it. This is what makes me happy. This is like, Bedrock has a lot of bad things in it. One of which is that the priest, the villagers can't really trade. They're limited with their trade. That's the backlog. So yeah, the problem is the priests are limited with their trade. Like, look, he still won't trade with me. So the flesh is gonna back up. I'm gonna have to start tossing it. I don't have enough room for all this flesh, and the priest is not able to process all the rotten flesh I'm gonna give him. So I just gotta dump the rotten flesh, I think. But look at that, it's just going and up into my item processor. So this first one, what it does, the first item sorter is a non-stackable item sorter. When I kill these guys with a sword, they drop a gold sword, And so I can smelt that into ingots. Oh yeah, here, I can do it right now. It's not very efficient, but I don't know. Who am I to pass up gold nuggets, right? Like, gold nugget's a gold nugget, man. And I've got two of them, two item sorters going into this thing in case a sword gets missed, because Bedrock isn't all that great about handling redstone, so it's not very predictable. So in order to, sometimes, a lot of times, the gold swords will pass by this item filter and end up here, and it's just annoying. So I put two of these item sorters to catch the gold swords. Look, even passive mobs. And you can still see there's like a leftover of stuff. So like, how's that stuff getting picked up? If you go over here, underneath, there's a minecart with a hopper in it, put in between the two blocks to catch all the stuff and drop it in here. Now when it goes in here, it eventually then goes into another hopper down here, which then brings it over to this dropper, which I have in a clock. And the drop, hello creeper. And the dropper puts it into the water stream, which carries it up to the item sorter. Goes up to the item sorter and goes through. You see, there's my item sorter out there. This is a fancy item sorter. It's supposed to be more reliable. And it is. It's a lot more reliable than before, than the other ones. And you can see in there, there's just a trident. I have a couple tridents in there just to kill all the guys. This guy trade yet? Yeah, I've rotten flesh. Come trade with me, dude. Nope, he still won't trade. That's why, yeah, that's why, man. I can't handle this. Oop, now I'm stuck. This priest is just can't. There's just too much. There's just too much rotten flesh. He can't handle it. Speaking of rotten flesh, Donald Trump has removed the. Donald Trump has so. In the United States, the government inspects our meat processing to make sure that nothing bad goes in the meat. There's no blood, there's no brains, there's no pig poop, there's no hair, there's no bones, there's no teeth, there's no hooves, there's no rats, because rats will get into it. And sometimes the rats will climb on top of the meat while it's sitting there and poop on it. So there's rat feces. There used to be. I'm not joking. This stuff used to happen back in the 1920s. Meat processing wasn't regulated by anyone but the company that sold the meat. So if the company could hide all this nasty stuff, then they will. They'd rather just sell the meat and then collect the money and then not worry about the health repercussions. So there was a guy, I think his name was Upton Sinclair, who wrote a book called The Jungle. And in this book, it talks about the horrible meat practices. Well, it talks about how the company was terrible to the workers, number one. And number two, it talks about how the company also didn't care anything about safety, meat health, or about cleanliness. It didn't care at all. If it could sell dirty meat, it would. If it rotten flesh, it would sell it. So eventually, people read this book and they were horrified by what they found about the practices of meat production in the United States. So the government was forced to create a government organization to inspect the meat to make sure that this nasty stuff wasn't getting in the meat that you eat. And it worked, for a long while. The quality of the meat that you buy improved a lot. It cost the company more money, But what do I care? I don't want to be eating rat feces and blood and brains and bones and rotten flesh. I don't want to eat that stuff. In comes Donald Trump. Donald Trump, in his great desire for profit, Donald Trump removed the government from inspecting the meat. Donald Trump said, oh yeah, I trust the meat industry to inspect themselves like they did in the 1920s. Oh, in the 1920s, they had rat feces and rats and all sorts of gross stuff in that meat. You want to say, oh yeah, I trust them to do that again. Thanks, Donald Trump. I'm not going to eat meat in the United States anymore. Thanks. Donald Trump's like, oh yeah, all this rotten flesh, go ahead and eat it. It's no problem. Man, oh god, that's nasty. So Donald Trump, that's just one more way Donald Trump is not a friend of the Americans. He just wrecked our meat industry. He just wrecked it. Alright, that's turned off. Let me get out of here. We'll go back to my base. So yeah, there is the gold farm back there. So the moral of the story is don't eat meat from the United States anymore, because it could have a bunch of nasty stuff in it. We don't know anymore. The government doesn't check anymore. You have to believe the company. And you know companies never lie. Whatever, guy. Okay, so I had a few things that happened. I was standing in line a while ago, maybe a week ago, to buy groceries. And while I was in line, I had a conversation with a guy, a young man. He looked like he worked on a ranch or something. We're both in line for groceries, so we had that going for us. Like, there's some common ground. And this, I started talking to him because it was a big line. This was, I think, the day before New Year's. Big line. And I just started talking to him. And what happened was, there was that shooting, there was that stabbing at the Jewish gathering for Hanukkah or something. That by an anti-Semite, a guy who hates Jews. And then there was a shooting in a church, and in a place called White Settlement. Never mind that the place is called White Settlement. I mean, if you want to talk about how history doesn't go away. Oh, there's Drano. I gotta fix Drano. Drano's broken. I fixed I improved the gold farm. Drano I've got to fix or abandon. I don't know. Way over there, Captain Pones, the house of Captain Pones, abandoned. The sisters, the Mesa. I don't even know what ocean this is. It's more like an inland sea. It's not even an ocean because it's not that big. There's Siku Station, Klatskanny Village. I kind of let's go check out Klatskanny Village. So the Village and Pillage update broke a whole bunch of stuff in Minecraft. It broke a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, that's why I stopped playing Bedrock, because they broke everything. All the work I did to make this town, they broke it. So this is like an old village, and like nothing that this village needed to be a village worked, so it broke. So I tried making an iron. They broke my iron farm too, but that broke too. So I tried all sorts of stuff to get an iron farm going, and it didn't work. I tried everything. I don't know what I'm doing. So like, this is before people sussed out the mechanics. But iron farming in Bedrock is atrocious. It's horrible. Like, it's just almost not even worth it. And that makes me want to go back. That's just another reason why you should play Java. In Java, the mechanics work so much better. It's just so much better in Java. You don't need 1,000 million villagers to make an iron farm. But in Bedrock, you do. So it's just dumb, dude. Oh, man. I had this place all set up. Like, I was going to make a base here. And then I realized the iron farm doesn't work. So I made all this for nothing. Oh, look at it. I even made a base. I made a mine here. Look at this. Look at it. I even mined here. I was getting ready to mine. Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, well. So much for that great thing. I made. Oh, look. Oh, does this work? Where does this go? Oh, I didn't know. I forgot about this. Where does it go? Oh, nice. Hey. I totally forgot about that. Ah! Alright, well, hey. I was all set up to make that my base. And then the Pillaging Village just wrecked everything. So I stopped playing on Bedrock. Let me go to Grandfather Station. I can show you what I've done there. So yeah, there was a shooting in White Settlement, and I'm in line with this conservative-looking guy, this cowboy-looking guy, to buy groceries, and the White Settlement shooting happened, and the anti-Semite stabbing just happened. So I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, and I'm like, man, the Second Amendment is terrible. Look what it does. Because of the Second Amendment, random yahoos get to have a gun and go murder random people. Just murder them whenever they want. And sure, they might get killed, but not before they've murdered someone. Like, I think the Second Amendment is dumb. that giving guns to anyone is dumb. He said, oh, I think the Second Amendment is great. If it wasn't for the Second Amendment, then all those other citizens couldn't have killed the guy who had the gun. And I'm like, I don't know, man. That's like saying, oh, I'm glad there was a wall there that, you know, oh, sure, the car ran away and fell and rolled down the hill out of control. But luckily, we had a wall there, so they all smashed into the wall. And yeah, sure, they died, but the wall stopped them. Isn't that great? And I'm like, man, that's dumb. It'd be better if the car never got away and started rolling down the hill. That way, nobody has to die. Alright, so here is the upgraded Grandfather Station. I haven't made it pretty yet. I haven't worked on the aesthetics. But I have worked on the back end. And the back end looks great. I managed to make the tripwire... Ooh, crap. Managed to make the tripwire less... the redstone isn't like hanging out here. So it's a little more hidden. And that redstone's nice. I used my colored concrete to make it look pretty. And then Here's the flux capacitor. I love this thing here. You take the low road and you take the high road and you merge them. I mean, I didn't have to go up high again. I guess I just chose to because to keep it even. But yeah, you take the low road and high road and you merge them. I love this thing. Everyone falls down and then everyone gets on the same level. I love it. I love it. Alright, here's that train station. Let's go. Oh, fall down. It goes down pretty far. Ow. Alright, now I'm getting lost in the bowels of the train station. Let me come out here. And see, the monsters are all outside, but they're not in here. Ha ha ha. Oh no! He came in! That creeper walked in! Oh man. I gotta remember that next time I show up. Because he's gonna still be there when I return. Ah, stupid creeper. So this guy's like, yeah, I'm glad that there are people there to kill the attacker in the church in White Settlement. And I said, well, dude, the guy who killed the attacker was the armed security guard. The armed security guard was like ex-law enforcement. He has extensive firearm training. And his entire purpose for being there was to hold a gun to protect everyone else. He wasn't some random yahoo who just happened to buy a gun. He was there with a purpose and a reason, the training. And so you could see it, right? When the attacker came in and he started shooting, you could see the security guard. You could see that he was trained because he didn't flip out. He didn't do anything crazy. He took his gun out. He carefully aimed and fired one shot. And that one shot was all it took to neutralize the threat. But that speaks not to the what a great Second Amendment. That speaks to, wow, I'm glad there was a trained professional there who had training, because then you could see how well that training served him through his actions. But it would have been better had the gunman never showed up. The only reason why that gunman showed up is because it's so easy for him to get a gun. Like, oh, it's dumb. We have to do better as a nation to recognize that a lot of people ought not to have firearms. A lot of people ought not to have firearms. They lack the training, they lack the stability, they lack the capacity to use the firearm responsibly. We gotta do something about this, because the alternative is to take away all guns, and that's where we're heading. We are proving as a nation that we are incapable of managing firearms. That's what the past 40 years have taught us. The way gun violence has gone up and up and up, it's telling me that we're incapable of managing ourselves to handle firearms, and that we should ban them all. It's not me, guys. I'm just reading what's there, and what this is telling me is that we're incapable of doing this, and we should probably get rid of them. I mean, if you want to prove to me that yes, Americans are capable of managing guns, and that so we're going to create a regulatory framework to make sure that only the right people get firearms. If you can do that, then do it, and show me that you can handle guns. But right now, what I'm seeing is that no, Americans can't handle it. They can't regulate themselves. They cannot. They require someone else to regulate. They require someone else to do it for them. And that's a blow to the American project, because the American project says that humans are capable of governing themselves. And what I'm saying here is that, yeah, we have a lot of humans who have this capacity to govern themselves, and they introduce rules and laws to help govern the use of firearms. But they are thwarted and confounded by another group of people who say no, we don't need any regulations on firearms. They see all these killings, and they'll say, oh yeah, we don't need regulations on firearms. So they block all these common sense regulations. So one group of people is cognizant of the issues. Maybe they want to respect firearms and they want to keep them, but they want them regulated, hardcore regulated, so that less people die. The other group of people sees all these people dying, and they don't care. They don't care. They block anything they can to make sure that people keep dying. They want people to keep dying. So yeah, when this young man, this rancher dude, came out and said, "Oh yeah, I'm a concealed carrier weapon permit holder," I'm like, I don't care. What are you trying to prove to me? That doesn't matter. That you have the capacity to murder someone? I don't know, man. And that also that starts talking about the town of White Settlement. Are there black people in that town? How do they feel about being in a town called White Settlement? Man, history doesn't go away. Oh, dude, come on. Leave Mod alone. Hold on, I'm gonna bring up my cats. Where are you? Where are you? Come on, get over here, dude. Get out of here. My mod, what's up? Alright. Dude, what's up, dude? Get over there. Alright. I'm gonna go take care of that creeper. So, okay, well, I should probably address it now, because it's the big news. So Donald Trump had extensive phone calls with Vladimir Putin, December 30th, 2019. He called him in secret. He didn't tell us. We found out from the Russians. The Russians told us, the Americans, the American people, that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump had a phone conversation. And then, like days later, Donald Trump assassinates a guy from Iran and tries to start a war. Now you have to, okay, Donald Trump is a malignant narcissist. So what that means is that he can't take responsibility for anything bad. He can't do it. He's incapable. His brain won't let him do it. There's a creeper here. I saw one. It walked in. There it is. Ha ha ha! Trying to wreck my train station. Yeah, maybe this isn't the best. Maybe not the best way in and out when anyone can do it, but that's alright for now. Subtext is for cowards. So Donald Trump assassinates this guy, and he projected that. He told us why he would do it, because remember, he tweeted out a long time ago. He said Donald Trump said Barack Obama will start a war with Iran to save his presidency, and that's projection. That's what narcissists do. They take the bad things about themselves because they can't handle it, and they put it on someone else. For everything. That's what Donald Trump does for everything. Donald Trump breaks all the laws. He conspires, and he's a puppet. But remember, he He accused Hillary of being a puppet. But we all know Donald Trump is the puppet of Putin. So that's what he does. He projects. And he assassinated this guy with Iran, from Iran, in order to start a war. To distract from his impeachment. Number one, to distract from his impeachment. That's one way. Another thing he wanted to do, well, Putin wanted to do, Putin and Mohammed bin Salman, they both want, they're both oil states. They're leaders of oil states. Oil states need the price of oil to be very high, because that means their resources are worth a lot of money, and then they can fund their government. Like Russia in particular is a super poor country. I mean, I feel bad for the Russian people. They just get bad leadership all day. But Russia needs a high price of oil in order to fund its government and its military. So any tension in the Middle East is going to increase the price of oil and increase it's going to increase the price of oil, and it's going to help Russia and Mohammed bin Salman. So Donald Trump doing this destabilizing the Middle East is only helpful for Russia and Mohammed bin Salman. It doesn't help the people. It doesn't help it doesn't help the United States. It doesn't help the environment. It doesn't help the poor people. It doesn't help our allies. It doesn't help anybody else except for Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and Mohammed bin Salman. Furthermore, Donald Trump has been coordinating with Vladimir Putin to remove the United States from the Middle East. Now, Donald Trump can't outright say, oh yeah, I'm giving up the Middle East to Putin. He can't say that. So he has to make it look like that, oh yeah, we don't mean to do it, it's just happening this way. So one way he did it was he abandoned the Kurds. We had allies in the region called the Kurds, and we worked with them for many, many, many years, and they helped us out a lot, especially with fighting ISIS. I mean, they were the ones who fought ISIS. It wasn't us, it was the Kurds who did it. And we helped, but the Kurds were the ones who fought and died. Guy over there, man, I can see him. There he is. He's way down there now. Oh, I got him! Oh, great! Look at that! Oh, what a great shot! Oh wait, there's the leader. Can I get him from here? Snipe. Oh, I got him! But now I'm cursed. All right, well, whatever. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, get it. So we were friends with the Kurds, and then Donald Trump betrayed them and let them get slaughtered by Turkey. He betrayed them. He betrayed our allies. Then we were like operating in Iraq to fight ISIS. Well, after Donald Trump's assassination of this Iranian dude, the Iraqis don't want us there anymore. They're like saying, get out. You got to get out now. You just assassinated another dude on our soil without asking us or telling us or anything. You just killed someone super high up. And you got to understand, people who live in your country have the presumption of safety. Like when you're a foreigner in another country, you have to assume that another government isn't going to assassinate you. That the people who control that territory control all that kind of stuff, so that some other random Yahoo isn't going to come in and assert its sovereignty over the sovereignty of the nation in order to conduct this assassination. And the United States just peed all over that. They just peed all over it. They're like, screw you, Iraq. We're going to do what we want in your territory. So yeah, Iraq's like, oh really? Well then get out. Get out. The United States is becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. We are losing all our allies because of Donald Trump. We are getting weaker because of this. And that's exactly what Putin wants. Putin wants a weak United States. Because remember, Putin can't possibly lift up Russia. He can't do it. He cannot lift them any higher. So what he's going to do is knock everybody else down to his level. That's what he wants. And Donald Trump is doing that exactly as planned. We're losing our allies left and right because of Donald Trump. We're losing all our friends. It's going to take years and years and years, if we ever recover from this. Like, who's going to trust us anymore? Like, who's going to trust us? A foreign nation just installed a puppet into the highest level of our government. Would you trust somebody like that? If you had a friend who had a girlfriend, and that girlfriend made all the decisions, and all the decisions the girlfriend made made the guy into a dick, you would not be friends with that guy anymore. Even if that guy got rid of his girlfriend and tried to be like, oh, I got rid of her, I think for myself now, are you gonna trust him anymore? We got problems. So I'm in line with this guy, buying groceries. He says, oh yeah, Second Amendment is great. Second Amendment is great because I can, random people can murder other random people. So like we disagreed there. I'm like, man. Then he says, well, then I try to talk to him. Well, what about regulation? Blah, blah, blah. Then he said, well, government's bad. All government is bad. All government does is wreck things. And I said, man, what are you talking about? Are you saying Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are the same thing? Are you saying that? Because they're totally not. That is false equivalence. False equivalence. When you have false equivalence in your brain, you can't see anything. You're broken. Your head is broken. You're saying hot is the same thing as cold. No! When you have false equivalence, that means you can't see anything. So this guy is telling me government's broken because government is the same no matter who controls it. That's what he's trying to tell me. And I'm like, look, guy, let me. So I'm like, all right. If you believe government is the same no matter who controls it, that means the murderer at who murdered people in the church at White Settlement is the same as the security guard who killed the murderer. You're saying they're the same thing. There's no difference between them. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? When you do that, then when you take away truth, then that gives others the power to manipulate you easily because there's no truth. There's no truth then. Government is like a firearm. It's like a gun. By itself, it's nothing. It's just a thing. It's a machine you make out of ideas. Whether or not the thing is good, does good things or bad things, depends on who controls it. So we have the firearm. We have the firearm. It was held, is the firearm good or bad? Neither. It's just a thing. But the person holding it determines whether or not it's good or bad. So when that murderer walked into the church in White Settlement and murdered a person, we can go and be like, the person holding that firearm is bad. Likewise, when that security guard saw the murderer and then stopped the murderer with his firearm, we gotta look, is that security guard good or bad? Well, the outcomes of that gun show that person was good. So it all depends on who controls the thing, whether or not it's good or bad. So we can go back to government, right? This guy wants to say all government is bad, all government's bad, all government's the same. Well, no, that's dumb, that's wrong. Is Bernie Sanders the same thing as Donald Trump? No. Now here, I want to show you a graphic that will help explain this. show open with. I forgot where I got this from. I got this like a week ago and I didn't keep up with it. Sorry. Oh, hey, check it out. Okay, I want to fill it up. Okay. So here are the policies. So this is okay. The United States is the laboratory of democracy. We have 50 states. All 50 states are able to make their own policies in regards to lots of stuff. Like, yeah, they're under the control of the federal government ultimately, but for that's a lot of work for the federal government. The federal government would rather let each state manage itself, which for the most part they do. So we get to see how this experiment of democracy plays out in our laboratory. In this picture, we see the states where Democrats have control of all three branches of government. They control the House, they control the Senate, and they control the presidency. So since they control all three branches of government, they're able to pass like the legislation they want, right? They're able to streamline it and push it through. So we gotta look. Since the Democrats control this thing called government and they're shooting out bullets, let's look where these policies go, right? The government is being held by the Democrats and they're shooting out policy. What are the things that they're doing with their power? They do something called ban on gay conversion therapy. So for a lot of teens, teens are not at the same power level as their parents. Parents are established, they have jobs, they have property, they're the parent, and the teen is underneath that. A bad thing that's been happening, because you have to remember, large part of the United States is under control of religious extremists, of just crazy people who are insane via religion. And these crazy people who are parents will take their gay teen and put them into a kind of concentration camp, a torture camp. Because the teen is not it's not like the teen it's not like the teen is hurting anybody. It's the teen isn't attracted to the people that the parents want them to be attracted to. They just have different ideas of attraction. But the parent wants to control the teen. So the parent sends the teen to a torture facility where the teen is tortured into behaving the way the parent wants them to. And that's terrible. That's terrible. Torture? We're like, Americans are against torture, against, that goes against the person's free will, their free expression, their right to happiness, to the pursuit of happiness, their freedom. It's not just. It's everything about it is anti-American. Everything about it. So in these states where the government is controlled by the Democrats, they use their power to protect the young gay people from these religious extremists by banning gay therapy. Oh, okay. When the Democrats control government, they protect the weak from the powerful. Okay. What's the next thing they do? They make the minimum wage above the federal $7.25. Right now, federal minimum wage is stupid. It's like no kind of reflection whatsoever about the current economic situation. No one can live off of $7.25 an hour. Like nobody. Like $7.25 an hour, that'll get you a value meal at McDonald's after 1 hour of work. How many hours do you have to work in order to make rent? That's just stupid. It's stupid. So all these states controlled by Democrats use the government to increase the minimum wage. Oh, you're using the government to protect the weak from the powerful rich who exploit their labor? Okay, I see that. All right, the next one, what they're doing. Free college for at least 2 years. Because college is super expensive now. And and a lot of jobs require a degree or some kind of college education in order to get a job, even if you don't need it for the job. But that's the way it is. So these states, and in the past, the federal government used to pay for college a lot more. That's why college was way cheaper back in the day, because the federal government subsidized it, and the state government. Over time, the federal government has withdrawn, and the state government has withdrawn from funding universities. So universities jack up their prices and then students rely on loans to make up for the difference. So the government transferred its responsibility onto private citizens. Well, the private citizens are generally poor and they can't really handle it. They can't handle this burden. Like it's stupid. So in order to reverse the trend of impoverishing these poor students, a lot of these states with democratic trifectas, where they control the government, use the government to protect the poor students and make college free for at least 2 years. Oh, okay. Use the government to protect the poor against the rich. I get it. Okay, nah. Then we have this other one. Use popular vote instead of the electoral college for presidential elections. Okay, so in that instance, what we're looking at is the electoral college weakens the individual voter. It takes away the power of the individual vote and gives it to the electoral college instead. So that it doesn't matter who you vote for, your vote doesn't really matter. It's all about the electoral college. We found this out with Donald Trump. The majority of Americans voted for Hillary Clinton. The majority of Americans. The majority wants Hillary Clinton. But it doesn't matter what the majority wants, because power was stripped from the voter and given to the electoral college. And with the electoral college, it was able to override the will of the voter and install Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is a minority president. He is ruling the majority of people with a minority of will. That he doesn't have the will of the majority. He's against the will of the majority, but yet he has power. So these states with Dem trifectas are attempting to fix that situation by awarding all of their votes, electoral college votes, to the winner of the popular vote, so that the will of the people is reflected. That's what they do. Oh, so the Democrats are using the government to protect the people from the powerful. Pretty cool. All right, and the last thing is marijuana legalized or decriminalized. So we all know that the war on drugs primarily affects minorities, especially black people, because the police use the pretext of the war on drugs to take away all sorts of rights. Remember that Randy Ortega guy who got arrested for filming the murder of Eric Garner? Remember him? He got harassed because the police singled him out, and they're like, "Oh, look, we happen to find these old issues. Now we can arrest you." Well, that's what the war on drugs does. It gives as many minorities as possible a record, so that the police, at will, can mess with them and take away their freedom. That's the whole point. The war on drugs doesn't make drugs less available. It doesn't make people safer. It doesn't help with it doesn't help with it doesn't help with anything. It doesn't help with anything except making rich people richer and making poor people poorer. So, and putting people in prison, because once you're in prison, like as a felon, then in a lot of states you lose the right to vote. And when you're a felon and you're in the prison system, slavery is legal. So yeah, in a lot of the Confederate states, the war on drugs is like, yeah. But in these Dem trifecta states, the Democrats use the power of the government, not the power, they use the object of the government, they shoot the policy bullets to protect the poor people and attack the rich people. All right. Now let's look at the inverse. Let's look at what happens when the Republicans control all of government. What do they do? These are the states where Republicans control all the government, so they can pass whatever legislation they want. So what do we have here? The first one is anti-boycott divestment sanctions of Israel. So what does that mean? Okay, as you know, Israel is an apartheid state. What does that mean to be apartheid? Apartheid literally is a word for separate. So let's look at the last apartheid state we had that we can think of. South Africa. South Africa was an apartheid state. What that means was there was a tiny minority of white people who had all the power, all the money, and controlled the entire government. Then you had a huge majority of Africans, black Africans, who were dispossessed of their land, of their labor, of their goods, of everything. And South Africa maintained this. They maintained the structure, right? Because it worked for the whites of the white Europeans the whites. So yeah, they maintained it, and the world was like, yeah, we can't abide by this. So the world put a boycott on South Africa. It said, we're not going to trade with you, we're not going to do business with you, we're not even going to talk to you, because you're an apartheid state, and that's unjust. We can't abide by that. So over time, South Africa finally dropped its apartheid and made reforms in order to be more democratic and bring in the people into the government, so that the government was more representative of the people. So it worked. Boycott, divestment, and sanctions worked to transform South Africa into a democratic state, into a more just state. So then we look over in Israel. Israel is an apartheid state. Even though Israelis are the minority, they're a tiny minority. Israelis are a tiny minority. The vast majority of people who live in Israel are Arabs, because that whole place was Arab before Israel was created. And yeah, they're not going to change. Israelis aren't going to change. They're like, oh, we like it. We like having all this power and dispossessing everyone else. So we're not going to change. Well, a group of people are like, well, if this worked, we're going to do something. If it worked against South Africa, it will work against Israel. So a bunch of individuals and organizations are voluntarily and of their own free will participating in the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement in order to force Israel to be more democratic and include its Arab population into its government, into its society. Now, remember, I told you, the United States has a large contingent of religious extremists. And these religious extremists are often tied with Republicans. So remember, Republicans have control of all three branches of government in these states. So when they use their power, they grab the government. Republicans have their power, they control government, and they shoot their bullets. Where are they shooting their policy bullets? They're like, look at you poor Arabs. Look at the poor people being oppressed in Israel. We're going to attack you. Boom, 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 you poor people. To protect the rich power structure in Israel. And we're going to do that by stopping this movement to boycott, divest, and sanction. Bow, 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 bow. Republicans, with their power, use the gun to attack poor people. Oh, okay, I see, I get it. Okay, they use the power of the government to attack the powerless and help the powerful. Okay, that's Republicans. Okay, so let's look at the next thing they did. The right to work. No mandatory union dues. Now, what does that mean? All right, the right to work is actually a right to be fired for any reason. It's so dumb. That's that Orwellian doublespeak that Republicans like to use. Because truth, they're fascists, so truth is their enemy. Get down, dude. You can't go up there. No, move. Do you want me to shoot you with this water? Yeah, leave. Get out of here. Go. Okay. So, that puts a lot of power in the hands of the employer, the rich, powerful employer, the guy with all the money. That just when he can fire you for any reason, at any time, at any moment, for anything. Wow, that like, oh, I don't like the way your hair looks. You're fired. I don't like what you believe. You're fired. Like, oh, that's your favorite song? You're fired. Nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. So, let's see, how can I fix this? There we go. Here, bigger. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Can you read this? Is it big enough to read? Yeah, it's barely big enough. Okay. There's nothing you can do. So these right to work states are helpful for the employer. It makes the workers weaker. So the only way workers can fight back, really, is by unionizing. They say, I'm an individual worker. I'm getting screwed by this rich guy. You're a worker, and you're a worker, and you're a worker. Yeah, sure. Maybe you're gay. Maybe you're a Muslim. Maybe you're black. Maybe you're a woman. Maybe you're another, I don't know. Maybe you're transsexual. But all of these things doesn't matter. Because we all have the same relationship to the rich guy. We share the same relationship with the rich guy, with the rich employer. The rich employer doesn't care if we're all these different things. What they care about is holding money. So the rich employer, what they're going to do is keep us separated, so we're separate and weak, individual. But if all of us individual people recognize our similar relationship to the rich guy, we can come together and act as one to protect our interests. Even though we look different, our interests are the same. So we can come together to resist and fight against the rich people. And that's great, right? Well, not for Republicans. Republicans hate that. Republicans are serving the rich. You know this because in the states where they have all three branches of government, they control the gun of government, they fire the bullets of the government policy, and they shoot them where? Into the people. Now, mandatory union dues. That sounds unjust. Like, oh, wait a minute, why do I have to pay union dues? Like, what is this, a free country? But you're not getting it. When a union negotiates a contract with the employer, the union cannot say, oh, this contract only affects union members. They can't do that. The contract they pass has to affect all the workers, all of the people in the working. So if the union members are spending money to help push this forward, to make sure that they get paid decently, they have decent benefits, they have decent health care, they have decent time off, because they have to. The employer doesn't want to give them this stuff. They have to fight for it. They have to fight. If they don't fight for it, they don't have it. But remember, there's a bunch of people inside who are working, or not a bunch of people, but there are people who are also fellow workers, who are also got the same relationship to the boss, the same relationship, but they see their fellow worker and they go, oh, I don't like you. I don't want to join your union. Like, oh yeah, I'm exploited by the boss too. We have the same relationship, but I'm on the team with the boss. I want the boss to do good. I don't really care about me. I want the boss to do good. So they refuse to pay they want to not pay into the union, even though the union is pushing to help all the workers. The freeloaders, they don't want to help. they don't want to help. They want to get the benefits of the union negotiation. Like, oh yeah, I like having time off. I like having health care. I like getting paid decently, but I don't want to help. I want to help the boss against you guys. So Republicans who control the government, the gun of government, the firearm of government, shoot their policy bullets. They shoot their policy bullets into the people, into the work union. And they say, okay, union, if these guys don't want to help the union, they don't have to help. They'll get the benefits of the union, but they don't have to help pay for it. So what that does, it weakens the union. When the union's weaker, it can't fight the boss as hard. The boss is like, ha ha ha, now you're weaker. I won't give you those 2 weeks off anymore. Ha 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 ha, your pay isn't gonna go up. Ha 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 ha, what are you gonna do about it? You're weak now. That's what the Republicans have done. They weaken unions to help the rich people against the strong. When government is a thing, like a gun, government is a thing. You can tell if the person is good or bad by how they use the thing. So here, what's this next thing? I'm going to switch back here to full screen. Alright. The next thing here. Medicaid work requirements. So, a lot of people are sick. They're sick for whatever reason. They're sick, and the problem is that in the United States, healthcare is really bad. Healthcare is not so great. So a lot of people have chronic conditions, and it limits their ability to work. But they need help because they're sick. They can't work, and or they're sick. Their kid is sick, so that it's hard for them to go to work because they have to take care of their sick kid. So the government helps them out, right? There's this program called Medicaid that helps poor people get health care, even if they can't afford it. Well, in these states, controlled totally by Republicans, they take the gun of the government, and where do they shoot it? They say, hey, sick poor people, pow, 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 I hate you, ah! Now, the Republicans, with the power of the government, they're gonna make it so that you cannot get Medicaid unless you work. We're gonna put these gigantic barriers in the way. You have to apply for like 50 jobs a month, every month. You have to apply for this. And if any job offers you a job, you have to take it. Or you lose your health care. So that means the poor person's like, oh my god, I have to work. And if the only job is minimum wage, they have to take it. Who does that help? Who does that help? Does it help the poor person trying to take care of their kid with their chronic condition? No. But if you're a rich guy and you can make a person work for you for half the money that they deserve, that's awesome. You make more profit. So the rich and powerful are served by forcing poor people to work for less money. So again, look what the Republicans are doing with the power of the gun. They are attacking poor people to help the rich people. The government is a thing. It doesn't have a will of its own. It depends on who controls it. So this other thing, allowed to carry a concealed weapon without a permit. I just talked about the nonsense of white settlement, how any random yahoo can pick up a gun and kill people. And you can't undo that. When a person's dead, they're dead. You can't undo it. There's no reversing it. So big deal if there's another guy with there who shoots the guy who killed the guy with the gun. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bring back the people from the dead. They're dead. It's like after the fact. It's stupid. So what does this help? This doesn't help anybody. The ability to carry without a permit, that doesn't help poor people. That doesn't help the people at all. Who does it help? It helps the rich people who don't even go into public. The rich people don't deal with public. They don't go to grocery stores. They don't go to the churches that you go to. They don't go to the social events that you go to. The rich are way too good for that. They send their hirelings to go do that boring stuff. So the only people affected by the random senseless murders are regular people and poor people. the Republicans aren't helping them, they're hurting them. Okay, and finally, the last one, a ban on sanctuary cities. Okay, so we know that the United States is a democracy. It's a laboratory of democracy. And it functions on different levels. So on the federal level, we have ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and they're like a secret police. They're like a Gestapo. They're bad. They're an evil organization. Because there are people who are in this country who are trying to do good, who are trying to do right, and they follow all the steps, they follow all the laws, and it doesn't matter. ICE will set up traps for them to arrest them and deport them, and then separate them from their kids, and a lot of times send their kids to adoption. That's what ICE does. It steals children. So this is unjust. This is manifestly unjust. But in these states where the government is controlled by Republicans, they attack the poor people with the government. And refugees are really poor. I mean, they left their home with nothing to come to this country to be immigrant. And the Republicans, well, the white supremacists, they don't like them. So they pass laws to help ICE come in and get these people. Well, the cities resist. The cities fight back. They say, no, this is unjust. You can't do it. So the city passes a law saying we will not help ICE. We are not going to help ICE. And they call them sanctuary cities. But all that means is that ICE cannot get any help from the local people. The people won't help ICE. Well, the state government, controlled by the Republicans, turns around and says, oh, well, we don't like what you're doing. We're going to take away your democracy, the laboratory democracy, and impose our idea instead. So they remove the ability for cities to not cooperate with ICE, to be sanctuary cities. So what is happening? Republicans, who control all of government, state government, use the power of the state to attack the weakest, most helpless people. Okay, let me do a review over here of this, what I just talked about. I can't pop up both at the same time. Okay. Holy. So you see, ranch dude, the guy who was in line with groceries with me, he was conservative. He was a young ranch guy, cowboy guy. Concealed carry permit he had. And he said all government is bad. But he also said guns are good. So I'm pointing out to you the contradiction in your thought. That idea, your whole idea is broken. Oh, wait, this is dangerous to go at night. Because if he wants to say, this guy wants to say all government is bad. It doesn't matter who controls it, all government is bad. If he believes that, then he also believes all guns are bad. It doesn't matter who controls a gun, all guns are bad. That's what he's saying. He's saying things are inherently have their own free will. And if government is a thing, and the thing is evil, therefore all government is evil. The gun is evil. The gun has a free will. It is evil, therefore we should ban all guns. Oh, but wait, that's not right. Because now he's saying, oh, but no, guns are good. That's why I have a concealed carry permit. Guns are good. No, guy. A gun is the thing. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. Either the gun is a thing with no will of its own, or it is inherently evil. Which one is it? I'm saying the gun depends on who holds it. Likewise, government is a thing. It has no will of its own. It's a thing. It does whatever it does whatever the person who controls it wants it to do. So, like we can look at a gun and say, oh, if that person uses the gun to murder people, the person holding the gun is bad. If the person holding the gun uses it to protect people, the person holding the gun is good. Look at government. If the government is used to hurt the weak, the powerless, and the poor, then the person holding the government is bad. If the government is used to protect the weak, protect the poor, and protect the powerless, then we say the people holding the government is good. And I've just demonstrated through the policies of states that were all controlled by Democrats. And the policies they passed help the poor, help the weak, help the powerless. When Republicans control the state government, when they hold the government, the policies they use attack the poor, attack the weak, attack the powerless. So I can sit back and look, oh, the Democrats are generally the good guys, and the Republicans are generally the bad guys. It's easy. I spent an hour explaining that to you, because it's to me it's like so obvious. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's hard that I have to explain it at all, but like it's obvious. It's right there. What else did I want to show? Okay. So right now we can look at the federal government, and we can see that Donald Trump is really, really bad. Basically, a Russian. He's on Team Russia, and he's driving the United States in a way that helps Russia. That's all he wants to do, is help Russia. So government is not bad in and of itself. It depends on who controls it. So this rancher dude I was in line with to get groceries. We were both getting groceries. He said government is bad, but he was and he was conservative, which means he wanted to say that government is bad no matter what. And I said to him, well, what are you talking about? Are you saying that Donald Trump is the same thing as Bernie Sanders? They're both in government, but they have two totally different visions. Totally different visions. So this guy, this conservative guy, this rancher dude is like, well, Bernie Sanders, he's a socialist. I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, Bernie Sanders, he wants to give people free cars. And I'm like, what? I haven't heard that. I have not heard. Bernie Sanders never said anything about giving people free cars. I mean, that's kind of a good idea, actually, when you think about it. If we need to get off of oil, but all these people are driving cars that burn oil, how are you going to get off of oil? Like, a random poor person just struggling to make their life, they got some old beater car. They don't have the money to go buy a new car. Electric car. Well, sorry, dude, I don't have money. I don't have an extra $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to go buy a new car that's electric. I don't have it. I can't do it. Sorry, not happening. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe we should do that. The government the federal government can hook up a deal to get everyone the most boring, stock, like no frills electric car possible. and then also install charging stations all over the country. What would that do? Well, that would, number one, it would help the United States get itself off of oil. Number two, it would help poor people by getting them decent cars. Number three, it would make a million jobs, because how are you gonna build all those cars? That's a whole lot of jobs that you need. You need a whole lot of car maker people to be making cars if you're gonna give everyone a free car. Also, what are you gonna do with, like, you gotta make charging stations. So you got a whole lot of infrastructure to set up. That's a whole bunch of jobs. Man, that's crazy. Then you say, well, where are you gonna get the money from? Dude, did you see the wealth inequality in the United States? You tax the rich. They're the ones with all the freaking money. You tax them, and get some of that back. Put it back down in the bottom where it belongs. So, yeah, this conservative guy, I don't think he has a very clear vision about what things are going on. Like, when you're supposed to use the government to help the people, not to serve the rich. And if it helps the people to give them all free electric cars, then yes, that's a good idea. That's a legitimate use of the government. I would be okay with that. Yeah, this guy, we didn't get to talk very long. I don't think I changed his mind, but everyone else heard our conversation. And even though they weren't talking to us directly, they heard what we were saying. So I didn't probably have an effect on that guy that I was talking to, but I know that everyone listening listened and they heard. And they may not have said anything, but they went home and thought about it. That's why it's useful and it is valuable to talk to your fellow citizen about these things. And some of these conversations might be uncomfortable, but it's necessary in order for our democracy to function. Yeah, man, our system is messed up. There's just so many things that are wrong. Like, I know that a lot of boomers are working way late into retirement. They should have been retired, but they're still working. They're still working. And because they're working, that means the jobs that they're working at are filled. That means all the Gen X people who are after the boomers, who are like, yeah, dude, I can't seem to get ahead anywhere. It's because there's nowhere to advance. Because all the advanced positions are being held by boomers. The boomers hold the positions because a lot of times they need the money, and because that's the only way they get healthcare. Why do we have our healthcare tied to employment? That's like the dumbest thing ever. So here's where you see the convergence of two different problems. Healthcare and poverty force boomers to work into retirement. Because boomers work into retirement, Gen X can't get higher paying jobs. Because Gen X can't get higher paying jobs, they're not spending as much money and on their kids. So because their kids are neglected, Gen Z are neglected the benefits of having their parents make decent money, they get less support while growing up. When you get less support while growing up, that's less opportunities available to you, which means it's a downward pressure on the entire society. All based on the fact that healthcare is tied to employment. God, it's so dumb. Yeah, man. Yeah, I can't stand it. Here. So, when you start looking at things like this, who are the ones pushing to get rid of Medicare for everyone? Republicans. Like, by this point, you should be seeing a clear divide in the world. There should be a very clear divide to you about what's going on. Here, I made a picture about it. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up real quick. Where'd it go? Hold on, sorry. I'm gonna get it here. When you need something to look at. Oh nope. Some show images, show title screens. Date modified. Oh man, what did I name it? Oh, that's right, it's not done. I'm not done with it, so I'm still working on this image. Open recent. That one. Save as. This is a temporary. JPEG. This is temporary, I'm working on this one. Open with. Okay. All right. This is an image. By this point, you should be seeing a very clear divide in half. There's a very clear divide between the two groups going on in the world. On one side, you have the Americans. Right? These Americans who have gone under oath to testify and who passed legislation that helped the poor and powerless against the strong and weak. And you have all these people telling truth and telling what happened so that everyone can know. And climate change is a big deal. And I tried to put more flags, but I couldn't fit them flags on here. There's a bunch of flags. There's the EU flag, the UK flag, the Australian flag, the Dutch flag, the American flag. All these guys are on Team Democracy, right? These are all Team Democracy people. That on one side. On the other side of this divide, you have Donald Trump, you have Rupert Murdoch, you have the KGB, you have Putin, you have Erdogan, you have Mohammed bin Salman, you have the Confederacy, this Proud Boy mother effer. You have that Russian oligarch, Nunes, Lev Parnas, who's a gangster. So these guys are all pro-oligarch. They are against democracy. These guys are against democracy. They do not want democracy. What democracy does is it diffuses power in the people, and these guys want to concentrate power into the hands of dictators. So yeah, the Republicans are on this side. They want to be on the side with the dictators and the rich people, and Americans and their allies on the side of democracy. They want to help the people and empower the people and establish rule of law. So if you're into the Bhagavad Gita, there's your two warring armies. If you're into the old Civil War, the United States Civil War, there's your Civil War. If you're into right and wrong, there it is. There it is. It's clear as day. The reason why I'm doing this show is to inform as many people as possible, because Donald Trump is getting to be more and more crazy. He's already trying to put us on a path to war, and that's insane. That does not help poor people. That helps the rich and powerful people. Remember, government is like a gun. It depends on who controls it, and right now Donald Trump controls it. So we have to resist. We have to fight back. We have to. We don't have a choice. If we sit back and let him do whatever he wants, he's going to kill us all. He's going to destroy our country. If we let these religious extremists do whatever they want, they have this book, and in this chapter in the book talks about ending the world, and that's what they want to do. We can't let them do it. They're crazy. They're crazy. So, all right, guys, I've been going on for a long time. Thank you for checking out my evil conversion chamber to turn evil into good. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being you. That's what we need, right? Right now, we're in the craziest battle ever. And anything you can do to help out is valid. If your skill is to draw pictures, that's a great skill to have to help out in this battle, because we're in a battle. we're trying to save the world and save life itself. And you can see who's on team life and who's on team death. It's real easy to see. Well, I don't have the picture up now, but yeah, it's real easy to see. Okay, guys, hey, thank you very much for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you soon. All right, PoGokeRo out. Peace. Peace. Peace.